Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we are going to cover the Renegade Major that I went to this past weekend. You guys haven't seen my video from last Friday that goes over the list in depth and everything. Do check that one out first. This will be a recap of every game I played, how I thought the list went, my overall, impressions of the tournament. This is the biggest tournament I have ever been to, so it was interesting to see from that perspective too. If you are new to the channel, do consider subscribing, liking the video to stay up to date on all things we cover here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios. We do a lot of Tyranid content, but we also have some Grey Knights, Necrons soon coming, and some Genestealer Cult once that codex finally makes it here to the US. So, and if you'd like to support the growth of this channel, do consider becoming a member. You do get exclusive videos and access to our Discord channel. But with all that out of the way, let's dive into this tournament review. So in this video, we're going to cover, like I said, the results. I will give you an overview of the results, and then we'll do a short breakdown of each game, give a little talk about, what was my opponent bringing, how I thought the game went, could I have done other things better, things like that. We'll go over the list in the end, not so much in depth of the list itself, like what I brought, but more so how I think everything performed. I do have a very clear MVP throughout the weekend of who performed just leagues above everybody else, and my plans for using the Tyranids going forward now that I have played a 6-game tournament with this list that I've played it a lot, this list, so I'm looking to maybe mix things up now. And then in the end, some takeaways from things I've learned, some things hopefully I can pass on to you guys for using Tyranids in just any army in a tournament, just some learning tools, wrap it all up in a conclusion there. So let's go over the results. I went 3-2-1, so that is 3 wins, 2 losses, and a draw of all things. I averaged I should say I got 21st out of 66 overall. Not as high as I was hoping, but you'll see as I explain more going on. It is 454 points, or 1 shy of averaging 75 points per game, which is good considering that I had, that many losses and a draw tied in there as well. So ideally, yes, I'd like to have that higher, but it is what it is. There were 6 Grey Knight players. Every single one of them was bringing 5 Dread Knights. There were 6 Tyranid players at the tournament, which was awesome. I think it was the most of any faction brought besides Space Marines. Besides Space Marines, Tyranids were the most popular codex that was at the tournament, which was great. All of them were playing Leviathan except for me. Except for 2 of us. I might cover those terms. If you want to see a breakdown of some of those other Tyranid lists, let me know, put in the comments. I do have access to those lists. I have saved them just for references. They all were pretty cool. Some of them were similar to mine. Some of them were very different because they were playing Leviathan, obviously. So we'll go over that if you guys want to. There were 36 Contemptor Dreadnoughts with Twin Volkite. GW, take notes, please increase the point cost on those, because obviously if there are 36 of them in a tournament, you might need to tweak them a little bit. Just saying. There were also a ton of Redemptors. I don't know the exact count on Redemptors, but it had to be in the 20s or 30s, I would say, because everyone who brought a Redemptor brought 3 of them, and it was tough to go against. So let's go over my games. Game 1 was Tyranids versus Tyranids, of course. Leviathan versus Kronos. It was a win, 76-55. Great opponent. I'm going to say that for just about I will say that for everybody. They were a great opponent. I have never played him before, but I have definitely, he's been around. He's been at a lot of tournaments I've been to. We've never been matched up together. And he is a long-time Tyranid player as well. So it was nice to, nice to chat with him, because it was, we were trying to beat each other, but at the same time it was turns on turns, so we were just having a great time. His list consisted of 11 Hive Guard, 32 Gene Stealers, Swarmy, Maleceptor, and some other things too. So it matched up very interesting to mine, as we had Hive Guard on Hive Guard. It was a matter of, you know, who could position his. He did have the Leviathan redeploy, so he was able to take advantage of going first against me and was able to shoot down a bunch of my Hive Guard with his sneaky redeploys. It was also Hammer and Anvil style deployment, so he also could take advantage of that there. I really enjoyed his list. It was a lot of fun, much more combat orientated with the Gene Stealers than mine. And it is something I'm definitely going to take inspiration from when creating some more new Leviathan lists going forward. In that list, I would say my Barb Hero Duel was the MVP of that game. And for some secondaries, just so you guys knew, I took Rod, Engage, and Grind them down. I mentioned this in the video last time that I was going to start trying grind them down a lot more with just how killy this list was. I thought, you know, I could probably limit what my opponent takes or kills by taking grind them down. And it did pay off. I think I got grind them down 3 or 4 out of the 5 turns. So overall good, happy with how the list went. And that was game 1. So solid start. Game 2 was against World Eaters. It was an 89-89 draw. Great opponent again. I've never played him again before. I think I've seen him around, but I do not know. I think he's from out of state, so don't see him as often, but I do recognize him. He had a goal for this tournament, and he was going to be, his goal for this tournament and for all of his tournaments is to be the best Chaos player, specifically the best World Eaters player there is. And man, it was a great tough opponent. His army was fast and brutal. He nuked my Swarmlord on turn 1. He had just, I mean, we're talking millimeters of line of sight on my Swarmlord with a big Leviathan Dreadnought, not crack missiles. What are the one-shot use missiles? 3 of them at strength 10, AP minus 2, d6 damage. Anyway, he launched those, launched some other guns at him, and then Raptors, of all things, got turn 1 charges off on Swarmy. I did deploy him a little aggressively because I figured, you know what, there's nothing I'm really scared of. So I thought. And his Raptors did, between fighting fights, he did pay the CP to fight twice, but he did like 30 wounds to Swarmlord. There's nothing I could do to that. So he nuked Swarmlord, so I was definitely starting that game off in a hole. And it came down to the fact that he still only had 1 wound, is that I just chewed away at his models slowly and surely every turn, and my models hung around thanks to shooting against the close combat army. But at the end, the reason there was a draw was because he had a champion. I was going to say an Emperor's champion, but not an Emperor's champion. A champion survived, hiding in corner on 1 wound. And I needed to kill it. I didn't think I needed to kill it. 2 things happened. One was that we tallied up the score, and we thought that engaging all fronts didn't matter. So we thought that him surviving meant nothing. And you know what, I trusted his math. And we did the math again and realized, oh crap, he can tie the game if that guy survived. I had already done my stuff. So what happened was I had 6 Hive Guard, and he had a Demon Prince on 5 wounds. And I thought, you know what, I gotta kill Demon Prince. That would be the easy thing to do there. Absolutely, I could have killed three Demon Princes over with the amount of damage my Hive Guard did. All I needed was to take 1 Hive Guard and go, boop, done. That would have been it. But hindsight's 2020. Do your own math and double check it before you go into the final games. Still great opponent. It's just an 89-89 draw is insane. We were both scoring almost maximum points. MVP, the Hive Guard. 1 unit of my Hive Guard were almost tied up the entire turn, but they killed Berserkers and they killed Raptors, and that was, you know, more than normally do in close combat. The other unit of Hive Guard just went to town in killing rhinos and berserkers, and they absolutely decimated Karn and dreadnoughts. Yeah, so the Hive Guard, the one unit of Hive Guard did really well, and the other unit of Hive Guard actually got some close combat kills, which was fun. My secondaries was Rod, Engage, and we were playing Priority Target, which had that special mission secondary, which is almost a guaranteed 15 points. So of course, we both took it, and that is partially why the score was so high as it is. Had I gone first, it probably would have been a totally different game. But like I said, do your own math, double check it, and don't leave a character alive on one wound. That will change the outcome of the game. Now we go on to game 3. It was versus Grey Knights. Thankfully, this was the only time I had to play Grey Knights, but it was 5 Dread Knights. His list was a little different than the standard 5 Dread Knights, 30 Interceptors, and 2 Tech Marines. He sacrificed some of the points on one of the Dread Knights, and he wanted to take Crow in there, just because he loved Crow, and Crow did some nasty work in that game, so I'd give him that. It was scary. He did like I don't know, 10 mortal wounds to my hero duel. My side hero duel just got demolished by Crow. So watch out if you're using hero duels. If a Grey Knight player with Crow rolls hot, your hero duels will die to mortal wounds. The Dread Knights cleared my chaff very quick. Like I said, they whooped up my side hero duel, and he had a very early lead. I was looking scared. My side hero duel did not do much his first. That actually didn't really do anything. I think he... No, I think he killed like 2 Strike Squad Marines or something. That was it. He just got gang beat by the Dread Knights, unfortunately. So I was looking scary, or a little scared at this, but it was a slow grind, as usual with this list, and my Barbed Hero duel and the Hive Guard just slowly plinked apart Dread Knight after Dread Knight after Dread Knight. And once the Dread Knights were gone, the Strike Squads are easy killing, especially for the side hero duel. So that leads into the MVP, was the side hero duel again. You'll see it later, but he killed a lot, so I can't complain with how well he did, with how he performed. He was awesome and kept me in the game. Secondaries was Rod, Engage, grind them down again. Shocker, I took these almost every time, and almost every time they were perfect for me. Had no issues with either, although I shouldn't say no issues with either, but I think I got grind 4 turns. I struggled, normally if you see my points are a little low, I actually struggled, this list struggles with primary more than it does with secondary, because I do take the first turn or two to be a bit more defensive, not pushing myself out too far, and using the Hive Guard and all the shooting to deal the damage and then go in and score points. So I often only got 35 primary points instead of the good 45, which is why some of my scores are a bit lower. But that was that game. Great opponent. Again, I can't argue with any of the opponents here, but I had an advantage. He had not played Tyranids too many times, and I've played a lot of Grey Knights, as you guys know, so I knew how to handle it. Game 4. Oh, this one hurts. This one is one of those games that is going to replay in my head for a very long time. I snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. It was a 69-71 heartbreak of a loss against Tim. Tim, if you're watching, great opponent. He brings some of the, if not the nastiest salamander lists I've ever seen, ever gone up against. I played him, and we always get matched up in this GT. I played him 2 years ago. No, last year. I played him last year. Tyranids versus Salamanders again. I only got 1 turn. I was basically tabled turn 1 just by how nasty his list was. So when I saw I was paired up against him, man, this was payback for the last time. And you know, I wanted to make sure I could compete against him because I know just how good he is and how good his lists are. And this list consisted of 3 Contemptor Dreadnoughts, all with the big scary plasma. I realize now my picture shows the Gatling cannon, but they all had scary plasma, 2 Contemptors, 6 Eradicators, Smash Captain on a bike, Tech Marine, and a bunch of Assault Intercessors, and some really annoying Eliminators that some reason can shoot, move because their gun is special. I don't know. Weird Space Marine stuff. But yeah, it came down to, again, do your math turn 4 and 5 when the game is coming down to it. Now I can say we were, you know, you got a timed game in a tournament, so you got to make sure you get every turn done so you can get the most points out of it. And I waited too late to do my own math, and I didn't take the time to really see what happened, and all I needed to do was kill a Tech Marine. He had 1 Tech Marine sitting in the back, and turn 4, I shot him with one singular Hive Guard. I shot a unit of Servitors with 1 Hive Guard, and I shot a Eradicator with 1 Hive Guard. The thought here was that was turn 4. The Eradicator was the final points I needed to deny him to the last. And these were my only 3 Hive Guard I had left at this point. It was a bloody game. The 1 Hive Guard, there we go, shooting the Servitors, my thought was, okay, if I can use 1 Hive Guard to kill 1 or 2 Servitors, then they should be able to force a morale check. They're like lead 5. They'll run off. They were holding an objective. Then that gets them off the objective, and we're good to go there. And then the last Hive Guard just needed to do, you know, 1 or 2 wounds to the Tech Marine sitting in the back, because getting him off the objective would be great. Tech Marine hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, 4-up saves. I can do, you know, D3 damage, so ideally I take half his wounds off. And that was how it worked out. I killed the Eradicator. I killed the Servitors, but they rolled a 1 on the leadership, great. And I did 1 wound to the guy in the back, the Tech Marine. Now on turn 5, I should have done the math. I should have done the math, realizing if I killed that Tech Marine, I would have got points for grind him down, and I would have negated 5 of his primary points on his last turn. I did not do that math. I shot 2 of my Hive Guard into the Tech Marine because I thought that's plenty, and then I went for trying to kill one of his Dreadnoughts because he had a Dreadnought who was only on 2 wounds, and I thought, hey, if I can kill that Dreadnought, that could be points for grinding him down. I tried to maximize it to guarantee my grind him down when I realized I didn't need to kill the Dreadnought. All I needed to do was kill that 1 Tech Marine and deny him points. I should have shot all 3 Hive Guard into him. I thought 2 was plenty. What happened was the 2 Hive Guard shot, they all hit, they all wounded, but he made 3 out of his 4 4-up armor saves, and I only did 2 damage. I had no CP reroll or anything, so that 1 Tech Marine sat there on 1 wound, and that won him the game. I mean, it was a fast, it was a brutal slugfest. That was turn 5. Brutal slugfest, great opponent, great game. Unfortunately for me, I just made 1 minor, and he made great saves too. I mean, making 3 out of 4 4-up saves is 1 over average, and I did average on my damage, so ideally I didn't need to. I did kill the Dreadnought though, you know, whoop-de-doo, but it was not enough to take the win. So snatching victory from the, and this game right here was determining who was going to the 2nd place table. So he went up to the 2nd place table to compete, and I went down to a different table to compete. And in that game, I got absolutely slapped. I played the Sisters of Battle. It was a 44-83 beatdown. It just was not close in any regards. It was just a rough game. Sisters of Battle, in my opinion, are one of the best. I think Salamanders and Grey Knights are good counters to the Tyranids. but I think Sisters are a close third for being a good counter. Denying Psychic on 5+ is really annoying, because anything can do it. You stupid Rhinos can do it, or the actual Sister squads or the characters. They've got this 20-man strong Sister squad with Morven Vol. They got those Storm Bolters. They got lots of Meltas. Oh my gosh. It's nasty. It's not, besides that big block of Sisters, it's not that durable. But that block of Sisters just commands the whole army while everything hides around. He went first, and that was pretty much it. He nuked my Barbed Hero Duel, or Scythe Hero Duel, Scythe Hero Duel turn 1. Nothing I could have done about it. Couldn't hide it. If I hit it, it wouldn't have gotten into action until turn 2, and it still probably would have just died turn 2. It was, he had some great dice rolls. Morven Vol made 7 out of her 8 invuln saves with Swarmy in close combat, and it just didn't go well. I didn't mention my MVP last game. I'll mention it. It was the Barbed Hero Duel. He did great work, but in this game, no one gets MVP. Everyone got slapped left, up, down, right, center. I took Rod, Engage, and grind him down. I got a lot of points for Rod and Engage. That was really where a lot of my points came from. Grind him down, I only got once, just because I got slapped and I couldn't kill much. So that was that game. Not much more to say. Great opponent. I mean, he was really chill, really nice. Would play him again, absolutely. But that one hurt. And I was already down on myself from messing up the end of the last game, that the energy had just been sucked from me. So going into this game, obviously, I had to struggle to clear my head to get through this, but losing my Scythe Hero Duel turn 1 and a lot of other stuff just didn't help. So it was good. Bad game. Good game, bad game. Finally, we come to game 6 with a 96-15 massacre on my part. It was an absolute beatdown. Opponent was a really nice guy, but man, I felt bad for him after that game. He brought a fun looking list. It was 2 Land Raider Redeemers, Salamanders again, 8 Assault Centurions with Flamers and Meltas on them, and a whole lot of Bolter Fire, 10 Terminators, 2 groups of 5, and 2, just Venerable Dreadnoughts with Multi-Melta, Close Combat Weapon, and Heavy Flamer. So it was a fun list. Looked fun to play as, but unfortunately, I went first this time. This was one of 2 games that I went first on, and yeah, Scythe Hero Duel finally did something. This is the first time he really got his points back. He destroyed those 2 Dreadnoughts turn 1, and then used Overrun to hide and avoid any firepower, and then he popped back in and killed some more. It was, he did great, loved him. The Land Raiders were tough to crack, but with enough Hive Guard and a Barbed Hero Duel, they eventually do just crack. And then the gooey Centurions inside, eventually they die too. The Barbed Hero Duel was absolutely an MVP. He killed a lot of Centurions, he did a lot of damage to the Land Raiders, and he took a lot of firepower. That was almost probably why he was more of an MVP than his damage. Those 2 Land Raiders focus fired him almost all game long, and he just tanked damage. My opponent had horrible rolls on these multi-meltas, with Salamanders of all things, was just not doing the damage. And my 5-up Invulns and 5-up Feel No Pains showed up for a game, and he, Barbed Hero Duel, just tanked damage all day long, which was great. Felt bad that was his last game in the tournament. It felt, okay for me. It was pretty much over by turn 2.5. But that's what it is. I took Rod, Engage, and Grind, and I maxed everything out except for 1 point on Engage. So, I mean, not much else to say about that. Now let's go over, so that's the list again, 3, 2, and 1, and I really would say I was 1 Hive Guard shot in game 2 and 1 Hive Guard shot in game 4 away from winning both of those. Now, the game 2 would not affect who I played game 3, and that would in turn not affected who I played in game 4. In game 4, if I won, whoever would have played game 5 probably would have beat me, but then who I would have played game 6 is up in the air. Talking with Tim a little bit, I probably could have beat that list too, especially if I went first. So, like I said, 2 Hive Guard shots and mental mistakes away from probably going 5-1 and placing in the top 5. So, it's frustrating. So, but it's hard. So that's why I'm going to review the list. I'm going to say this list, even though I finished 21st and I went 3, 2, and 1, it was by the smallest of margins that I placed there. So I think the list still is mean, but let's review and see how it goes. List review. Let's start with the Swarmlord. Give him a B plus, because I like him, but he failed a lot of his psychic tests. I mean, he perils almost every game, just trying to get smites off. He got Onslaught off once, twice. He got Paroxysm off once or twice. Didn't even matter. Actually, no, the first game using Paroxysm did matter a lot, so that was good. It helped him win the Swarmlord versus Swarmlord battle. But, yeah, I mean, he killed some Intercessors. He killed Swarmlord on Swarmlord. Otherwise, he kind of was just used for slingshotting and Synapse, of course. So, you know what? I'll give him a B plus because he did perform more like a support more than a missile like he could be sometimes. Neurothrope, A. He did his job. He gave Synapse. He casted Catalyst every single time without failure. And he did some key smites, getting rid of some units that were trying to tie up my Hive Guard. So, great job. Love Neurothrope. Can't complain. One thing I'll say about the Swarmlord, while Paroxysm was great and Onslaught was great, part of me wishes I had Psychic Scream on him just so I could potentially put Psychic Scream on my Neurothrope or on my Maleceptor, cast extra powers that way with command points just for some extra damage, but we'll see. It's just some other things I'm used to when I'm running Zonethropes and I'm not in this game, so side tangent. Termagants, I had the 2 groups of 10. I give them an A-. They did their job at screening my Hive Guard except for one game with against Salamanders, the much more challenging Salamander list to go up against. I had a gun, barrel of my gun, sticking out behind a window, or behind a building, and his Contemptor Dreadnought could see the little tip of my gun, and he nuked all 10 Gaunts. And then the Hive Guard were exposed to those weird eliminators that could charge after yeah, so my mistake, I'll talk about it later, but always talk with your opponent if they play model to model or base to base or what. We here play base to base, and I know that is technically not true Warhammer 40k. For most armies, it doesn't make a difference because most armies fit over their bases perfectly, but Tyranids are a bit more fickle and a lot of their units don't fit over the base, so it's just something you got to pay attention to. Every other opponent was totally cool doing model to model. I just forgot to ask in there, and little brain farts, but that's okay. So Termagants, I'll give them an A- because you know what, I'll take my sadness out on them. Warriors, A+, 66 points for Bioweapon Bond and OBSEC and Synapse. Absolutely worth it. 1 unit is a guaranteed minimum requirement and auto take in any list, I think, going forward for Tyranids. 2 units is also a great possibility, or 1 big unit could be good. Loved them. Lictors, A+. They always did their thing. They always did what they needed to. Now, actually, the last game I forgot one of my Lictors, so he died. But didn't matter because I had plenty of time and turns to do Retrieve Octarius data with other units. So still A+ for them. Rippers, A. The unit of 3 for deep striking was great. Always came in handy. Always grabbed their objective or got me engage points. Or both. The unit of 7 was decent. It was fun. Worked effective like a screen. Clearing out things. Again, the only time that they weren't great is when I went up against the Contemptor Dreadnoughts because they 2 damage on those Volkite weapons, and those chewed through my Rippers when it came to it. But besides that, they did great. They actually killed a lot of the Sisters. I think maybe those Rippers will be the MVP for my Sisters. I said no one gave them, but they killed a unit of Dominions? Dominions. The elite choice with Meltaguns. I think they're Dominions. Yeah, they killed a unit of 5 of them, so maybe they get MVP then. But yeah, a lot of fun, and I'd maybe recommend it for other people just trying out something else. Hive Guard, they get an A. They basically killed whatever they wanted. You can't complain. They're the workhorse of the army. Maleceptor, I will give it a B+. I think it was great for support. There were a few times where having the -1 strength to incoming shots was great. Specifically when I played against Salamanders, the melt is wounding me on 5s and 6s or 4s, depending on the turn that it was, and the plasma cannons on the Dreadnoughts wounding me on 4s instead of 3s because it's a strength 9 plasma cannon. Jesus, not even with overcharge, just always strength 9. So that was absolutely insane. You know, he did his psychic. He only failed Symbiostorm once, maybe twice the whole game. He did Smite. I brain bursted once, and it wasn't great. So, you know, wasn't worth it. I thought it would be, but it wasn't. I failed to roll 2 pluses on him. And he didn't do anything in combat. He didn't kill a single model. He had a chance at killing a Rhino against the Sisters. I needed to do 3 damage to it, and I even gave him Self-Focal Essence just because. And I rolled a 1 on the damage and rerolled it and rolled a 2. So, yeah, he didn't kill anything. And again, he's not a combat monster, but still I would have liked, you know, to do something. Yeah, so that's the Maleceptor. Still, his casting Symbiostorm was awesome for him. And that bubble, when I did go up against it, using that Stratagem bubble was helpful. So I still think he was a key part to this army. The Barb Hero Duel. He was an absolute unit. A+ from him. He was my MVP. I have a whole slide coming up next to talk about it, but what an absolute unit, specifically with the help of Bioweapon Bond. I used it every single turn possible on him, and it really paid off. Not even just in combat, but in shooting. Man, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s most of the time, just guarantees he does the damage. So, loved him. I lean towards him being almost an auto-include in every army. As much as Hive Tyrants, or not Hive Tyrants, Swarmlord, Hive Guard, Warriors, he's just so good, so good. Scythe Hero Duel, a little different story. I give him a B+. He was a great distraction unit. And I say that because he absorbed everybody's firepower turn 1. There was only 1 game, and that was the very last game, where he survived to my turn 2. Meaning I got to use him more than 1 turn. Most of the time, I didn't even get to use him because he just died right away. Because everyone asked, all right, what do you have for movement? I said, well, this guy can potentially move 24 plus 4d6 or 3d6 inches a turn, and that includes the charge. And they're like, oh, well, he must die. And obviously, yes, he must die, because when he doesn't, he does bad things to the enemy. So normally he just dies, and I understand it, so that's why he's not like lower rated, but he he didn't get to do much because he died so quick, so often. But yeah, so that's him. That's the list. Overall, like I said, the list performed very, very well. It's just little mental mistakes that caused me to not do as well as I was hoping. And now let's talk about the MVP like I said I would. This is pretty close. I didn't keep a true tally of everything he killed, but as best as possible from my memory, maybe I missed a small thing here or there, this is what the Barbed Hero Duel did. Game 1 against Tyranids, he killed 8 Hive Guard, 16 Termagants, and 8 Gene Stealers. That's insane. That is insane what he can do, and I was very happy for him. Again, you're like, why is he killing Termagants? Well, he had no other targets and he had to kill him. So it happened and it worked out in my favor. So that's that. Khorne, he killed 16 Berserkers, 5 Raptors, 1 Contemptor, and 1 Leviathan Dreadnought. Absolute workhorse. Now maybe on the Contemptor, technically the Hive Guard might have helped out with like a few of the wounds, but the main damage came from him in combat and in shooting. Versus Grey Knights, he killed 2 Dread Knights all by himself, no help from Hive Guard on those ones, and 10 Strike Marines. You can't complain with that kind of damage output. I should also mention which games he died. He did not die the first game, he did not die the second game, he did not die the third game. Let's go on to the fourth game. He killed 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, basically 2 full health Redemptors he whittled down to. He killed 2 Eradicators, could have been more, but 2 Eradicators, and he killed 10 Assault Intercessors. I like to point out the 2 Eradicators he did with just 1 gun, so that's great. 5 of the Assault Intercessors were with the other gun, and then 5 of the Assault Intercessors, unfortunately he had to waste all 12 shots to kill him, but it's just the way it worked out. One of the Redemptors he did all the damage to in shooting. One of the Redemptors he did half in shooting and half in combat. My opponent charged him, thought, oh, this would be an easy kill, and I thought it was going to be an easy kill, but between him whiffing his wound rolls and me making invuln saves and 5-up feel no pains, he came out there with 3 wounds left, double my bracket, and had bioweapon bond, so he still hit like a truck and dropped the Redemptor Dreadnought in combat. That was a big swing and allowed me to, what should have been allowed me to win the game. He did die at the end of the game. Their Dreadnoughts were just too much of a match for him, and they did eventually slay him, but you know what? He did great. Game 5 versus the Sisters, he killed 10 Battle Sisters. That was it. That's like I said, didn't do much. That's all he did. 10 Sisters dead. You know what, whatever. He did die that game. Yeah, he absolutely did die that game. Game 6 versus the Salamanders, he killed roughly 1 Land Raider. I say that because the Land Raider was being healed 3 wounds a turn, and the Hive Guard did help out a little bit, but I think in the end he did do 16 wounds worth of damage to a Land Raider between the 2 of them. So that was great. He also killed 5 Centurions and 3 Terminators. So, I mean, this Barbed Hero Duel pulled his weight and really was the MVP and the backbone of my army. Part of me is thinking, you know, if I did this list again, would I just take 2 Barbed Hero Duels, drop the Scythe one, maybe even, and drop some Hive Guard to make up for the points, run a 6-man unit of Hive Guard, run 2 of them, and then, I don't know. I need some combat threat. Maybe stick some Gene Stealers in there, even though they're not that great in Leviathan, but it could be something. Some tweaks to make to the list. Maybe I'll play around with that after. I haven't thought of that before. Now, that's pretty much how it went. Let's just go over a little conclusion, some takeaways and learnings for you guys and for me. First off, always score your game after every turn. I know in a tournament setting, you'll mark what you scored, but tally it up. Take the time while your opponent's going through their command phase or going through their movement phase. Tally up your score so you know where you stand. Had I done that and known, hey, I need to just prevent my opponent from getting engaged in all fronts, would have won the second game. Had I tallied up to the end and known, hey, I just have to kill the Tech Marine and I will win this game, I don't have to deal any other damage for the last 2 turns, all I have to do is kill that Tech Marine. Well, it was a little bit more. Technically, turn 4, I had to kill the last Eradicator and the Servitors and then the Tech Marine. But had I known it was just Tech Marine, it would have been very different. I probably would have, should have, would have, could have snuck out the win there. And then the rest of it, I mean, it is what it is. But especially when you can tell the game is tight, always tally up your score so you know what to do next turn. In the heat of the battle, sometimes you forget. So practice, practice, practice. Talk with your opponent about everything, whether it's a tournament game or a standard game. Clearly define the terrain. That wasn't too much of an issue at all. There was one instance, but not deal with it. So always clearly define your terrain, even if it just seems like little minute things you assume they know. Just double check so you don't have an issue later on. Ask with them, talk with them, playing model to model or base to base. Again, technically 40k 9th edition is played model to model. So the true positioning of every little bit matters. I think that's too much to deal with, and I've had very, very few opponents who have disagreed to play base to base, specifically when I'm playing Tyranids. Not that it's like giving the Tyranids an advantage, but it's just we're not playing at a disadvantage, I guess. So that might be contested in the comments section. Let me know what you think about that. I'm curious. Again, like I said, I've only had one instance really where it was like have to play model to model no matter what. Everyone else was pretty cool saying, hey, yeah, base to base, I totally understand where it's coming from. So talk with them, and yeah. So overall, I'm happy with the list. Like I said, I was 2 minor mental mistakes from what I think would be placing in the top 5. And the 2 losses I had, the Sisters guy who slapped me up, down, left, right, he came in 6th in the tournament, so, you know, that's great. And Tim, the Salamander guy who I snatched defeat from the Jaws of Victory, he came in 4th. So I can't complain too much about those results when those are the 2 guys who beat me. But yeah, it was just two small mental mistakes away from probably being 5-1, maybe 6-1 or 6-0. But I don't think it's the list that the guys were bringing at the very top were tough. And maybe if I went first, I had a chance. But if not, no way. Who knows? That's it. That is everything I have to talk about from this tournament. Hopefully you guys, maybe you've tried out this list, maybe you've just learned something, you've got some interest. Let me know down in the comments. We're looking at some other videos to do from this. 2 things we want to consider. 1, would you like to see a battle report with this list? The one you just saw on Monday with Grey Knights versus Tyranids, that is not technically my tournament list. That is a variation on it where I tried playing it as Leviathan. It is not quite the same as the one I brought to the tournament. So if you'd like to see that list played in a competitive setting later on throughout this month, put that down in the comments and we'll make sure we can try and do that. It might end up being Grey Knights versus Tyranids again. Maybe we can sneak in the Necrons, but last time we brought the Tyranid list against the Necrons, that was a rough game for them. So we'll see. The last thing, or 2 more things. Would you like us to review the other Tyranid lists that were done in the tournament? Maybe not all of them, because there were 6 is a lot, but at least the 2 others that came towards the top of the tournament. They're actually, like I said, the 2 Tyranid players who did finish above me. One of them was the guy I beat in the first round. He did end up finishing above me because I drew. Had I not had the tie, I would have finished 1 place above him because we both would have been 4-2, and I would have had 1 more battle point than him, and I would have had even if we had the tiebreaker over him. But that, and there was a Tyranid list who did finish 7th place and did best in faction Xenos. His list was absolutely insane, and you know, props to him for making it work. We were all shocked that it worked. It was 18 Hive Guard and 2 Exocrines, which just sounds rough to play against. But if you guys want us to cover that list in depth, I do have it, and we can go over what it did and how it did, and you know, some things like that. As well as we could also cover the Grey Knight list. There's a little bit less variety in those Grey Knight lists, but if you want us to cover the tournament Grey Knight list, Connor is very happy to do a video on that, and everything for him to learn from what those guys are bringing too. So that is everything we have to cover from Renegade. It was a lot of fun. I'll probably try and come back again next year. Maybe the Tyranids will have a new codex by then, and we'll be bringing out new shenanigans. Or we'll just still be playing Codex Leviathan, essentially, and seeing what we can do. I'm sure there will be tons of evolution in the meta a year from now. So maybe Gaunt spam. Maybe he'll bring 150 Gaunts, or maybe we'll bring 200 gene. He can't bring 200 gene stealers. Like 100 gene stealers or something. Who knows? That's enough rambling. Again, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date. Do consider becoming a member if you want to support us here at Maelstrom Gaming Studio. All your money that you kindly donate to us goes right back into the channel, whether it's better lighting, more terrain, so you're not seeing just the same 2 terrain setups every time. And, you know, if you want us to show off some models, some new books of everything coming out, the money goes there too. All goes right back into supporting the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.